I don't think Mike Rose said that. Oh, no, he didn't.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Different. University of Connecticut did a study called the Coming Crisis in Leadership, and what they did was they looked at kids went in as freshmen and going out as seniors, and they said in things like government and history and economics, it's called negative learning. They lose knowledge in 4 years of college. They're paying $200,000 to lose knowledge.
They academically performed less, got lower grades as seniors than they did as freshmen about the basic things of America, including the government economics, American history. They underperformed as seniors compared to where they were as freshmen.
They lost ground.
Unbelievable. Okay, so John Clem.
Oh, and by the way, here's marking time. This is a busted drum heads, but this kind of stuff is marking time. Okay. He would be allowed.
And no intern is allowed to do that to the drum.
That's right. That's right.
All right. The general, attracted by his youth and intelligence, invited him to call upon him whenever they were in the same place. Rosecrans saw no more of Clem until his return to Cincinnati, when one day, coming to his rooms at the Burnett House, he found the boy awaiting him. He had seen service in the meanwhile. He had gone through the Battle of Chickamauga, where he had 3 bullets through his hat. Here he killed a rebel colonel. The officer.
Now that's when it's good to be short. That's when it's really it's good to be short for your age.
Yep.
3 bullets through your head.
Here he killed a rebel colonel. The officer, mounted on horseback, encountered the young hero and called out, "Stop, you little Yankee devil!" By the way of answer, the boy halted, brought his piece to order, thus throwing the colonel off guard. In another moment, the piece was cocked, brought to aim, fired, and the officer fell dead from the horse.
I bet he wished he hadn't told that kid to stop.
Yeah, call me a Yankee devil. For this achievement, Clem was promoted to the rank of sergeant, and Rosecrans bestowed on him the roll of honor. He is now on duty at headquarters of the Army in Cumberland. 12 years old.
Now, not long after that, General Thomas comes along and says, I need you on my staff. You're a lieutenant now. So we got a 12-year-old lieutenant, and of course that's the picture of him down there. That's John when he's a sergeant at 12 years old on that over the side.
Here. An actual picture, and he is such a small. I mean, this engraving even makes him look big compared to the actual picture of him.
Well, I mean, he's below the bayonet, which means the rifle is taller than he is.
How is, by long shot, because his rifle is
way out
in front of him.
Leaning.
I mean, how that kid, I think the colonel on the horse was probably, when he saw him kind of lift that musket up, was kind of like, look at that kid, he's so cute. Look at him trying to get it. Boom!
Hey, do you remember the horse shoulders with John Wayne when all those kids out of that boarding school came in?
Yeah.
They were laughing at him until they shot him.
Until he started shooting.
So that's the expectation we had when we didn't care about age. We cared about knowledge and ability.
What's this, David?
This is a letter from a preacher taking on the President of the United States.
1830.
Guess who?
Andrew Jackson.
Over Indian deportation. And so, again, the voice for things like abolition, for things like women's rights, for things like the anti-deportation Indians came from the church back then. Pretty silent today on issues, but back then they had a voice.
Yeah, I will tell you, this is one of the foulest disgrace that is before any intelligent people. That's what's written here. He had an opinion. He had an opinion.
And today, I don't think you'd find many Christians, much less ministers, with that kind of rhetoric.
I mean, that is really tremendous, and it is, in my opinion, where the Republic lost its way.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything to that, David? Do you think if the founders could come back 1850 or so and sit down and we could talk to them and we could look at history and we could say, where do you think the Republic really was kind of lost? Because I don't think the founders, Thomas Jefferson, would have said by 1850 we were the same America. You know, would you agree? Yeah. I think that time is 1830.
Mm-hmm. I think it started in 1820, because 1820, the Congress of 1820 started repealing the acts of the Founding Fathers themselves. And so by 1820, You have the Missouri Compromise that repeals George Washington's Northwest Ordinance. Washington twice and Jefferson once are passing.
It was slavery.
It was a slavery issue.
Slavery, poison.
It was a slavery issue. And they had been passing anti-slavery legislation. Congress 1820 says, no, we think they were wrong. We're going the other way. I think it starts in 1820 is where you see the political, because they are literally overturning the acts passed by the Founding Fathers.
Why is, because I believe this is Bannon that is doing this to Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump really knows who Andrew Jackson is. You know, he probably is like, oh, the guy in the $20 bill.
If that.
If that. Why? Well, I mean, he is Donald Trump. He probably, he probably knows more
$100
Franklin.
bill. Yeah, that's right. It's Franklin. A 20.
So what? Can you make a case to me? Why is Steve Bannon? And we do know this from press reports that he's the one pushing that it's going to be the model of this administration.
Andrew Jackson was a reform-oriented president that was very populist. That's the way he's portrayed today. He was the populist. He brought the grassroots in. The parties they had at the inauguration, instead of just being the elites, the ambassadors,
But
and diplomats.
they were drunken
brawls.
But
But that's not the way textbooks portray it. They portray it as bringing in the average person in the White. He opened up government to the average person. And so, you know, we talk all the time.
Did he really? Because he, at the same time, when they say that, he was also the guy. All this land up. I'm going to gobble this land up for the United States, and I'm going to put it all up at auction. You go get yourself a real estate license or whatever they had to do back then, and get ready to gobble it up. I mean, he was poor when he went in. He was one of the richest men in the country when he left.
He implemented the spoils system. And so the spoils system comes from him. But see, people look at it and say, oh, look, he took average common people like himself and put them into office. Well, that was the spoils system. He's rewarding his friends who helped him. But you don't get the negative side of Andrew Jackson because, again, remember, Andrew Jackson is the guy who started the modern Democrat Party. And so to show him as negative, that would screw up all the textbooks. That would screw up all the, because it's progressive liberals that do the textbooks. And so Andrew Jackson is portrayed as a really good guy. Now, historically, he was a good soldier, good warrior, the War of 1812, but he did some really bad stuff too. And he,
in the war?
Not necessarily in the war, no, but when you get out of there and with what happens with the Indian Removal Acts, et cetera, with what he does with the spoils system, instead of taking the best qualified person, I'm going to reward my friends who helped me get here. It's the old, you know, buddy network, but that doesn't come out. And so somebody like Bannon, who's been to schools in the last 20 years, is going to get a good view of Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson continues to rate one of the more higher presidents of the United States in modern polls and surveys because people don't know much about him.
I will tell you, I went to a school looking for a school for my kids, and I went in to talk to the history techer.
Oh, that could be interesting.
She didn't know who I was. She didn't know who I was. And we're sitting there, and I said, so tell me, who are your two least favorite presidents? I mean, who do you think, who are the best, you know? And who do you think really took us off the rails? And she said, oh, that's easy. And I said, who was it? And she said, Andrew Jackson and Woodrow Wilson.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm home.
My kids?
I am home.
I want my kids in your class.
So I'm looking, what is this, David? This is colonial? Era?
No, well,
Oh, no, American flag. So this, maybe, is this Fort McHenry?
Fort McHenry.
Okay.
There's a little ship over here. Somebody watching a rocket's red glare and the bombs bursting in the air.
Scott Key. So, I mean.
But you just made a comment to me about the shooting.
I mean, I'm finding it hard to believe that that's the way they were shooting at each other, just straight, putting the cannon straight up. So the cannonball would go straight up and then way down. I mean, I've never seen anything depicted this way.
You want to pick something up for us?